No, I don't, to be completely honest. I still feel like one of the young guys, one of the new guys. Obviously in the new club, it's a little bit different, but even previously at the Saints, I think I left there at the age of 29, 30, and I definitely didn't feel like one of the older guys at the club. And the only time I do feel a little bit older is when you mention a past player or a band that you used to like, and the young kids look at you like they've got no idea who you're talking about. It's blokes that they should know, past players. But no, I don't feel like I'm a 300-game player.
Having been through what you have throughout your career and now reaching 300 games, does it make you realise just how important it is to take these opportunities when they come up like you've got this weekend?
Yeah, it's a tough situation, obviously. I think someone said to me the other day, it's my 7th prelim, which is obviously really special, and it's a great number, but I haven't won a premiership, so at the end of the day, it doesn't really count for a lot unless you do take those opportunities. And we were fortunate enough last year to be in a prelim, and we obviously got embarrassed up at Sydney. So the under this weekend against West Coast is obviously a huge challenge. They're playing some great footy, but we're well aware of what's up for grabs.
How hard is it to compare the 7 prelims? And as far as you going into this week, the confidence levels of not just this week, but maybe if we can get into the last 2, we can steal it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's stealing. I mean, we've worked really hard for 2 years while I've been at this football club to put ourselves in a position. So I don't think it's stealing. If we do win it, I think we've earned it, that's for sure. But I have been in 7, and there's different times that you felt like you weren't quite up to the pace of the better teams. And we played in a prelim in 04 and 5, and I was 20 years of age, 19, and you're sort of new to the system. And sometimes, in hindsight, I think you have to go through those losses to realise how hard they are to win, or to appreciate it. And obviously missing out on 2 grand finals in 9 and 10 wasn't great, but I think we're in a good position as a footy club right now to go into this weekend, particularly after what we went through last year.
Can you put into words how hungry you are to win a flag?
Not really. That's a good question. Not really in words. I just know in regards to my football career, winning a premiership would feel like it's complete. There's definitely something that I haven't achieved that before I finish, would love to tick that off, and then I can probably move into post-football a lot more comfortable with what I've done in footy.
I know you weren't around, but are these blokes really hungry to I guess, reverse what happened in 2012 our way?
We haven't even spoken about it, to be honest with you. I think any time you play in a final, even as a group last year, and we were disappointing up in Sydney, that any time you play in a final, you want to be competitive, and we weren't last year. So we were really good against Richmond 2 weeks ago, and I thought our effort on the weekend against Sydney was great, but once again, it doesn't count for much if we don't do it again this weekend. We're well aware of that.
Does playing in a prelim like this and all the success you've had at North Melbourne now sort of justify the move from St Kilda?
Yes and no. I mean, it wasn't necessarily about playing in prelims or anything like that. There was multiple reasons for obviously leaving the Saints, and it was a tough decision looking back on it over 2 years ago. But one thing that I did want to do if I was to leave the Saints was be in a competitive team and play finals. And fortunately, over the last 2 years, we've definitely done that. So I am loving being part of September again.
You see, Jared and Sean this year, you've obviously had 2 good seasons. What is it that's made it work? I mean, sometimes it doesn't work when all the stars go to other clubs. What has made it work at North Melbourne?
As those actual individuals? I think it's the club, to be completely honest. I don't think it's necessarily just individuals. With Wadey and Sean, their pre-season was fantastic, and the word is previously they didn't have that consistency or that good a pre-season, but I thought both of them particularly were fantastic. Didn't miss a session. Their bodies have obviously held up really well this year. And Wadey, probably the back half of the year, has been fantastic, and obviously he's getting some reward in regards to goals, but his effort's been amazing. But by changing clubs, and for me, last year, it's something different. But the club was in a great position. They were welcoming, gave me an opportunity to play again, and it's obviously worked out really well for all guys involved.
How do you think your game's changed from going from St Kilda to North, and you're a more rounded player?
That's another good question. How's my game? I don't think I've changed a great deal. I learned some really good habits from older Saints players when I was young. Robert Harvey, I got to play with Stewie Lowe, obviously Lenny Hayes for a long period of time. So I think from those guys, I've naturally, played and trained the way that I have for a long period of time. I play a little bit of a different role at North than what I did at the Saints. Play a little bit more wing, half forward, half back, and probably at the Saints I was traditionally on ball for about 10 years. So, but by saying that, loving the role, loving being a part of it, and when you win, everyone's pretty happy.
Are you feeling pressure this time because of the hammy?
I think so. For me, it's about mid-year. I played this week game 15 for me, so I played 14 games. So technically, and I had the bye or rest a couple of weeks ago. So really, I've only played the bye. Shouldn't have said that. Sounds like I'm just taking weeks off. I had a rest a couple of weeks ago, so my body is feeling really good. I honestly do. And the way I felt on the weekend, comparing it to this time last year, I know I was exhausted post that prelim last year, but I actually feel really good and looking forward to at least 2 more games.
Are you expecting Drew to play?
I am, yeah. We saw him this morning. I think they're saying it's a corky, so obviously it didn't look great. And when I was out on the ground, it was a little bit worrying to see the way he went off the ground. But he had a joke about it, said he was sooking up a little bit. So we are expecting him to play. He'll talk about guys that know what's up for grabs and don't want to miss out on this opportunity. There's obviously Drew's in that category.
Eagles have obviously been in pretty honest form, but I feel like your forward line, I mean, you've got them in round 10 down in Tassie. Not too many forward lines like yours. You break even middle goals team. Do you think you get in there enough? You feel like you're a real chance to score? Is that the sense of the group?
Yeah, I mean, it's only Monday, so we haven't broken them down too deeply. But I feel like that every week, to be completely honest. I feel our defence went on are really competitive, and I know West Coast forwards have been amazing all year. I mean, they've got Jamie Cripps, for example, who's not one of the biggest names, but the number 1 pressure player in the league that you just know you're going to be in for a tough game, particularly over there in front of their home crowd. Kennedy's dominated all year, so Darling's back. So that's going to be a challenge. Midfield's always a challenge. It doesn't matter if you're playing the bottom team or the top team. They're always a really solid midfield. And our forward line looks like it's clicking. You know, Wadey's been fantastic over the last couple of months. Drew's always competitive. And then Higo's just slotted in and does his thing. So we'll be around the mark. And if we bring our effort, then hopefully we get a good result.
If Daniel Wells is fit, do you think he deserves a go?
That's one for the coaches. I'm glad that I'm not a coach. He's out there training right now, and he's looking really good. He's doing everything he can, and that's all we can sort of ask of him.
Would you like him to start?
I'd like him to play a full game if he could. That'd be nice. He's missed so much footy. It's obviously a bit of a risk and it's a challenge, but one thing I do know, if he does play, he'll be ready to go.
You've gone in as underdogs twice already and won. You will be again this week. Is it a tag that you're embracing?
No, we haven't spoken about underdogs, you know, coming from 8th. I read the paper and we're the first team to come from 8th. We haven't even spoken about that. Internally, nothing really changes from this week to every game during the year. We still have to do our preparation, we still have to recover from the weekend and get ready. So we'll analyse West Coast as closely as we can. We'll put a game plan in place. We'll get the plays that we can. If Wells is there, then fantastic. But if not, we'll just go out and do whatever we can do to get a really good result.
That game down in Tassie, can you take much out of it?
Against West Coast? I didn't play that game, so I was watching it on telly and it looked pretty good. I remember it was really windy. That was the one that was, the ball was going everywhere.
Well, that's the conditions will be so different.
Yeah. I guess you can take a little bit out of it in that we know that we have played them and have beaten them and we were successful on that particular day, but once again, that was 12 odd weeks ago, so it doesn't count for a lot. We've changed a lot. I'm assuming West Coast have as well. And just how you turn up on the day as well. That's the other hard part. You got to front up on Saturday and be ready to go.
Are you excited? Like, the emotion on the Monday, is it exciting? Do you still get nervous going into the
I'm not nervous right now. I will be come the weekend. Not nervous, probably more anxious. You just you feel like you know the opposition really well. You know what you want to do. It's more about getting out there and doing it. I'm not great sitting around, particularly about the 2 hours before a game. I hate just sitting there and just wondering what you're going to do. I prefer to turn up with your boots on and sort of walk out with 5 minutes to go. But it is exciting. I mean, Monday, I'm probably a little bit flattered today because I'm tired still from the weekend, but come Friday, Saturday, we'll be definitely ready to go and the excitement builds. You can just feel it. I mean, you can feel it walking through the streets in Melbourne, the excitement of September, and there's no games in town at the moment, let alone what it's going to be like in Perth over the weekend.
How important is it to have a good start to get the crowd over?
It's always important. It doesn't matter where we're playing. If we're playing at Etihad during the season, MCG, if you get off to a good start, it obviously gets the ball rolling. But by saying that, we didn't start great against the Tigers a couple of weeks ago, and we were able to show some resilience and fight back in that second half, which is really encouraging. That if we are in a position that's not great, that we'll fight it out.
You're going to run me through the respective strengths at Melbourne and Dal Santo. When you were roped against both of them, you probably played at the time for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
How are they disrupting?
I don't know if I'm worthy to speak about those two guys. I've got no idea about tap rucking. I'll tell you from my perspective, Goldie's obviously had a fantastic year, and last year I thought he was fantastic, probably gone to another level, and I think around the ground, obviously he's tapped. I think he's the first player over 1,000 tap-outs, which is great, but I think his work around the ground's gone to another level this year. He's marking, he's obviously kicking some goals, which is really good. His follow-up is fantastic. Natanui, I mean, I watch him just like you guys do. I don't know him that well, but obviously admire the way he jumps, his athleticism, his ability to break tackles, get forward, kick amazing goals. So it's going to be a good challenge. It'll be obviously a really good spectacle for the viewers to see two premium ruckmen go at it.
A lot of people say that the travel is a big negative. Can you talk us through what sort of bonding it gives you? Like if you go away at the point in the season, like last week you did it,
Yeah.
how will it actually be for you this week?
Yeah, it's obviously a challenge just because we don't travel as often as teams from Perth coming to Melbourne. They're obviously a lot better at it. But it does really feel like you against the world, and that there's 22 of you going away together, that you have to bond, you have to come together, and if you don't have each other, then you've got no one. And I know we've got some really good support in the West, and we have for a long period of time, so we'll need every single one of them cheering for us on the weekend, because we're expecting the West Coast supporters to obviously be there in dominance.
Having travelled and got the win in Sydney in an away game, does that give you confidence having to go and do it again?
Yeah, a little bit. And it's funny, like that word confidence, obviously it's been bandied around a little bit of late, and what it is and if you need it and all those sort of things, which I've actually really enjoyed it, watching it. It gives you confidence knowing that you can do it. So I'll put it in that context that our game plan over the last 10 weeks has held up. It's held up in 2 huge games being the last 2 weekends. If it holds up again, fantastic. We haven't looked into it too deeply about trying to find ways to build confidence, to reassure ourselves that our game works. But I think the evidence over the last couple of months shows that we can do it if we apply ourselves.
I think West Coast defend a very distinctive style way they defend. What's the key difference in that game, that zone, that time?
Yeah, it's another good question on a Monday. How are we going to get through their zone defence? Obviously, ball use. I mean, I would say that Hawthorn's probably the best in regards to their ball use, and obviously it didn't work for them a couple of weeks ago, but we'll have to have a really good look at that, because if we can't get through it, then they're going to turn it over us and probably score. But by saying that, I've got full confidence that our guys can execute under pressure.
Generally speaking, you've got to sort of move the ball short, chip short, hit the target rather than sort of allowing that zone to sweep.
I think you've got to, my opinion with this weekend in any game, you've got to play what the opposition give you as well. I mean, if there's opportunities down the line and Goldstein's got a mismatch and it's not Natanui, then you can probably take that. If it doesn't, then you've got to work another way through. I think saying that we kick it long every time or we kick it short doesn't apply at this level of footy. You've got to be a lot more tactical and be able to work it out while you're out on the ground, opposed to saying, let's do this every single time.
Can I ask you a couple of questions on just other stuff?
Sure.
Ross line really well.
Yeah.
Would you be surprised if he picks Ryan Crowley?
No, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Because of the history with what happened?
I just think Ross plays his best team, and it's obviously a huge risk as well because he's been out for so long, but I think it was 2009 Stephen Baker missed about 12 to 14 weeks, and I think he brought him back in to play the granny. And Bakes was the sort of player, and I assume Ryan Crowley as well, that once again, if they're right to play, they'll give you everything they've got, and you just trust them to the hilt. And I think if Ross backs Crowley in, then it'll probably be a good call.
And just on Adam Goods calling it quits, his legacy in the game, but also, would you like to see him do a lap of honour at that grand final?
To be honest, I'm not really fussed if he does or he doesn't. The main thing is he should be allowed to do whatever he does or whatever he wants to do. And if that's not do it, then so be it. You'd like to think that he's happy with his decision, and we've been able to admire him for, 16, 15 odd years. If he doesn't want to do a lap of honour, then at least we've been able to watch him for that period of time.
Does it make you sad as a colleague that it's got to this?
A little bit. I mean, the whole season in different parts makes you disappointed as an industry more than anything, but at the end of the day, it's his decision. If he's happy with it and he doesn't want to be part of it, that's fine.